Hello, dear friends. This is Cardiac Radio Live at 11 p.m., nourishing all of our souls with another study from the book Evolution into Worlds by Luiz. What a joy! Yes, we're studying this book that really reminds us of how God loves us. Yes, we are created by God and have been evolving for millennia. And here we are at human level, learning more in our consciousness, expanding our consciousness, right? The book Evolution into Worlds is authored by Luiz, the same author of the book Nosso Lar, The Messengers, and Life Goes On, Liberation, Sex and Destiny, Between Heaven and Earth, Workers of the Life Eternal, Missionaries of the Light. Evolution into Worlds was written in 1958 through two mediums, Chico Xavier, Valdo Vieira. They were then living in two different cities in the state of Minas Gerais, several kilometers apart, 5-hour drive apart. And they brought this book to us in 6 months. It's a phenomenon in itself, yet to be studied, yet to be fully understood. If you read the chapters, you cannot tell that odd chapters were psychographed by Valdo Vieira, while even chapters were psychographed by Chico Xavier. And the book comes to us in a beautiful orchestration of the good spirits to show to us the mercy of God, the love of God, investing on us in the beauty of this multi-millenary pilgrimage. Exactly. Today, we're studying chapter 10 of part 2 of the book. Part 1 contains 20 chapters. We've studied already. You can watch it or listen to it at Cardiac Radio in its YouTube channel, in its Facebook page, in the podcasts of SoundCloud channel at Cardiac Radio. 3 ways of acquiring the study, playing and replaying over and over again to understand what Luiz is telling us. So, the first part talks about the evolution of our spiritual body. The second part talks about life issues in general in 20 chapters. We are halfway through of this second part. Can you believe it? It's been 31 days that we've been together in this journey. And we are here with you today to disclose this chapter on affective discipline or emotional discipline. So let us see, with the help of the slides, what Luiz tells us. Remember, we have been studying about marriage, divorce. We've also studied about the fact that maybe the spiritual spouses, may be separated for a while. And it's not enough. Luiz, in a third chapter in a row talking about relationships, he discloses more information. And you may be wondering, why is he spending so many chapters, right? Talking about affective discipline, talking about relationships. You may be asking, so this is an introduction. What would be the answer? Because this is our life. What are we here to do? To master our relationship with God, with our physical selves, the spiritual selves, with other spirits. So, summing it up, our lives, if the goal of life could be summarized, it's about mastering relationships. Our relationship with God, comes first. How is your relationship with God doing? Is God center stage already? Or is God just a side? 2, mastering our relationship with our first companion. What is the closest being to us, the cells of our spiritual and physical bodies? How are we doing in that regard? Are we actually mastering it, working with it, or not? Right? That's a question. And then the relationship with other spirits, incarnates and discarnates. So in this chapter, he's going to talk about emotional discipline. You ready? Welcome, friends. Join us at Kardec Radio. It's a joy to be together. So let's see what Andre Luiz has to tell us. He says, Affective Discipline, Chapter 10, Part 2 of the book Evolution in Two Worlds. It's as if he's saying emotional discipline. And he begins by asking a question. What is the foundation of affective discipline in the spiritual societies of higher spheres? Let's go back. Don't read the first paragraph yet. I want to give you some background. The background that is related to the word affection. Affect is a term that is used in psychology, okay, in psychology, to describe the experience of feeling, emotions in general, okay? Affection, affective, is a term that is also borrowed by neuroscience. From psychology to neuroscience to medicine, health overall, it's a technical term that is used to talk about our emotions. Emotions, moods, attitude, etc. Okay? So Andre Luiz is asking us the question, how is that? How do we deal with emotions in the superior spheres? Why is he focusing on that? Because he's coaching us to the next level of our experience. Okay? Spiritist books are coaches leading us to the next stage of our humanity. So when we read this chapter, he's training us time and again to aim higher, higher. No, you don't want to get married here and get settled, have a house and a family, blah, 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 go home and then die. And no, that's not the goal. The goal is not for here. It's for immortality. So let's aim higher. So he's going to help us in that regard. Remember, fairy tales do not exist, right? And in this chapter, he's going to repeat it in some way and form, that fairy tales do not exist. He begins the chapter by saying, many are sadly mistaken when they believe that sexual incontinence is a rule of conduct on the higher planes of spirituality. Why is he saying this? Because there are spiritualist authors that have reported about sexual, let's say, liberation, okay, as a rule of conduct in the higher spheres. That's not true. When he talks about sexual incontinence, he's talking about lack of self-control, self-restraint. Okay, it's like freedom in that regard. And that's not true when we talk about the higher planes. And he continues, the mediums who have observed regions of licentiousness, like liberality, it's like that supposed freedom to do sex, as well as the discarnated entities that brought news about it, only reported news of naturally inferior places, which are in great affinity with brutalizing polygamy, irrespective of their philosophical concepts. And here's a pause for us because these concepts need to be chewed upon so we absorb it. Pause. What is our level in that regard right now? Are you good at self-management regarding sex? Or are you easily stimulated by anything that passes by, that comes to your mind, that you see, that you listen? Because if that's the case, we are vibrating very low. We're talking about vibrations now. At the end of the day, it's all about vibrations, frequencies, connections. So it can be very dangerous for us connecting with that dense level. I know people, men and women, women and men, who watch porn. No judgment. Oh, you cannot go there. It's dangerous. We are connected to vampirizing entities. Because when we are watching porn, you are vampirizing as well. You are objectifying the person that is there. Even if you say and claim, somebody claims, oh, Vanessa, come on, that person was paid, they knew what they were doing, but that doesn't give you the right to objectify them because they are objectifying themselves. Because people are mentally ill and they are abusing or being abused, it doesn't give you the right to enter the abuse mill, the mill of abuse. So pornography is a no-no. And pornography doesn't come in an hour movie. It comes nowadays also in Facebook posts. Exactly. You know, if a man comes dressing himself up in Santa Claus and I think, oh, wow, and I have sexual thoughts, what's the difference between that scene in a minute versus in an hour? A drug is a drug, an addiction is an addiction, right? Whether you drink 1 glass of wine every day or 10, the intensity is different, the habit is the same. So nowadays, we're losing sight of it, and that's not being a Puritan. It's just making sense of the vibrations we're emitting. Let us remember in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship, Andre Luiz says the law of the mental field. What is the law of the mental field? He says, I attract what I emit. So if I am attracting X, Y, Z things, it's because I have emitted at some point. So nobody's a victim. And he also says in that book that there are two types of mental currents, the destructive mental currents and the constructive ones. What are we choosing? When we are objectifying the body of somebody with sexual thoughts that are not correlated with love, I am vibrating lower, okay? And what am I doing? I'm entering the connection of destructive mental currents. There is no neutral position. But Vanessa, I'm just. There's no just. Is it constructive to the good, the general good, vibrationally higher, or is it destructive? Not high, dense, low. So we need to pay attention. This chapter is inviting us to higher emotional awareness that is correlated to our sexual discipline as well. Okay? So it's vital for us to understand that. And he continues telling us that this is happening in lower planes, lower levels. So when mediums report orgies, sexual encounter, it's in lower places, not in the higher spheres. We need to pay attention. To feel guilty, no guilt, but to discipline ourselves. Discipline means education, to educate ourselves. And we're going to see here how he says even more. He tells us, in the ennobled planes, there is also the marriage of souls who are united by pure love in true spousal union of sanctifying features, creating wonderful works of progress and beauty for the collective edification. So here he's talking about the higher planes. As we said yesterday in the previous chapter, those souls that are already at another level, they are spiritual spouses, they have true pure love for one another, but they are working for the benefit of all. So the true marriage is the one in which we join forces to help many. The day we get married to somebody to help the universal family, that marriage is going to be a happy marriage. If we could ever give any advice, and I'm not saying this, but because I know, but I'm learning, if I could pass it on to the new generation, I would say, according to Spiritism, if you get together with somebody, seal the deal to help the general family, the universal family, you never go wrong. Really, that's the direction. I know it's gonna take a while for us to get to that level on earth. That's okay. We're in the school of the earth. So let us be patient. We're gonna get married and we're gonna find out that, oh my gosh, it didn't work. Divorce is not a crime, though we should not facilitate it. Marriage shall be sacred agreement between two people, holy as a school of emotion, but we cannot enforce a proposal onto anybody, right? If the person is not on the same page and want to go away, we say, we better stay friends than become enemies. That's when Luiz said in the book Evolution into Worlds, Chapter 8, Marriage and Divorce, that at the end of the chapter, that divorce is a lesser evil in a way. It's not a crime. But it's better to go that route than becoming enemies. How can we become enemies of people whom we are married? We need to be less attached, less possessive, and allow people to go their way. And bless and remember, we don't possess anybody. So that's why we shouldn't avenge anybody who wants to go away from us. They want to go away, they go away. Yes, they do. And what can we do? Let them be. People are free. Right? But in the highest spheres, when we reach that level, we join forces to help others. Luiz is repeating that since chapter 8. And he repeated in chapter 9. And now he's expanding on chapter 10. It must be important. Because the day we visualize this good, we attract it. But we're still vibrating low on earth. We're still like, I want somebody. That's how we are, still on earth. I want somebody who is good to me, who respects me. And it's all about me, right? I want somebody who gives things to me, who protects me. But that's not a relationship. So you want somebody to care for you? In a world where selfishness still prevails? I'm being selfish when I say I want somebody to please me, to care for me, to protect me. So if that's the condition and the other has the same condition, we have no common points. Because the other one is thinking just alike. Where's the common point? Where we decide, I wanna join forces with someone who wants to progress, who wants to evolve, who wants to help humanity, to have a family, but a family that is going to be educated to fulfilling God's will on earth. Ah, Vanessa, that's just a dream. No, that's the real deal for God. It's not a dream. It's not my dream. It's God's law. That's the direction of life. Read the third part of the Spirit's book by Kardec, The Divine Natural Laws. Or every Saturday at 6 p.m., join Carol Correa and Shane Martin in the God at Home, because they are going to lead everyone into studying the natural and divine laws according to the third part of the Spirit's book. Every Saturday at 6 p.m. So for us here, that's the direction. This chapter is coaching us to visualize the good. Emmanuel says in the Thought and Life, visualize the good. Seek the good, feel the good, visualize the good, mold the good with all the resources you have at hand. And André Luiz comes in this chapter and says, I'm going to show you the good. That's the good. It exists, and you are destined to achieve this. Question, homework for you. Can you already visualize you at this level? This level. The level of this spiritual spouse, spiritual marriage, when you are together constructing for the benefit of all. If you haven't visualized yourself already achieving that, begin it today. Because this is your destiny, this is my destiny. It's our destiny. We may not know who the person is, but we can feel ourselves already there. Right, Melissa? So let's visualize it. Emmanuel says in the book Thought and Life. Visualize it. Visualize it. And André Luiz is giving us the whole explanation, the scenario. So let's see what else he has to say. He tells us, I will repeat this sentence. In the ennobled planes, there is also the marriage of souls who are united by pure love, in true spousal union of sanctifying features, creating wonderful works of progress and beauty for the collective edification. And he continues, when such union needs to be delayed by immovable circumstances, the spirits of superior behavior accept on earth the challenge of sublimating their sexual forces. They channel the sexual forces to dignifying labor with the abstention of polygamous trade in a true intense effort of self-purification. Wow, what is he saying here? Well, he's reminding us of something that we're capable of and we may not yet be aware of it. So he's telling us that we unite our forces to help others, but when one of the parts needs to reincarnate for a mission, okay, and the other one stays, so the one that incarnates stays sexually abstain, doing the works like many that we've seen in the world, including Chico Xavier. One example of this is in the book of the Missionaries of the Light. Read the book. I won't say the case. Missionaries of the Light. Right, Melissa. Feel the good. Visualize the good. Seek the good. Mold it with all the resources you have at hand. Okay? So, who else practiced this sexual abstention? You know, Chico Xavier, right? Yes, Chico Xavier himself. Let's see. While waiting for their desired union, the ennobled souls work in service to their fellow beings as true precious opportunities for refinement and progress. Isn't that the case of Chico Xavier? While waiting for the desired union, the ennobled souls work in service to their fellow beings as true precious opportunities for refinement and progress. Such opportunities will accentuate their high values of culture and emotion, which will give them the most pure and elevated intimate joy. So, let's break this down. The last two chapters, the last two um, paragraphs. So in this one, our dear André Luiz is revealing to us that when one of these two parts has to wait, so both are working and refining themselves in benefit of others, like Chico Xavier did. Certainly, like Mother Teresa, for example, the Dalai Lama, right? And he says that these opportunities, they will give them more values of culture and emotion. Isn't that fascinating? That will bring to them what we call the ecstasies. I'll share you this. Every time we are here at 11 p.m., it's a surreal time. I'm not saying, I'm just sharing with you a minute thing, nothing compared to the great missionaries, but something that we feel, many of us here. I've had many people telling us, oh, at 11 p.m. when we're doing this, I feel so much joy. And I've had friends who have helped us do this work, like Shane Martin and Adriano and Marco. And some of them say, wow, when I finished, I was feeling tired before I began. When I finish, I feel so much energy that I could just begin another day. That's exactly, I'm not going to say exactly. It's probably a little bit of what Emmanuel is telling us. André Luiz is telling us. That inner joy, that spiritual ecstasies. Some people think that the ecstasy of orgasm, sexual orgasm, can only happen if you have sexual intercourse, sexual activity. Not necessarily. Even psychology proves to us that we can channel it. Psychoanalysis says it. We can channel it, sublimating it bringing it higher and using for other purposes and feeling similar ecstasies or even more because it's already sublimated. So much more that when you do this kind of work, for example, many people help the homeless, help people who are in need. And they say, man, I went home feeling so much good energy that when I get home, I feel like for days the same energy. It's like joy, 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 joy. Versus that joy that may happen with other passing material things and you don't carry it throughout the week. Observe when you think about buying something. You're like excited. The ecstasy of buying. You buy it. You see it with children. I want it, I want it, I want it. You buy it. The next day they forgot the toy. Completely different from the ecstasy of being among friends. It lasts. That emotional exchange, the affective exchange that is channeled to the general good, lasts with us. It's good to be good, right? No, Raza, Chico Xavier was not married. And that's why he is the example of somebody who reincarnated without a spiritual spouse and remained faithful by keep on channeling that sexual force to the work of the good, like Freud used to say in psychoanalysis, the sublimation, while waiting for the reencounter. Again, why is Andre Luiz sharing this with us? Because he's talking about our multimillenary pilgrimage. He's saying, this is something to look forward to. This is something we can build together. Aim higher. From marriage on earth to true union for immortality. Andre Luiz is coaching us to visualizing it. Today, he is breaking a myth. The myth that I don't deserve. Some people say, I don't deserve. We all do. You're a child of God. I'm a child of God. He doesn't give names here. He says it's a rule across the board. It's a fact. The spiritist science is revealing a fact. He's saying this is a fact. In higher planes, they are disciplined. They channel their union towards constructing the good for the general good, right? And when one has to go separate ways and reincarnate, they keep themselves faithful, channeling it all to the benefit of all. Chico Xavier was so amazing in that regard that Emmanuel taught him how to talk to his sexual selves, reproductive selves, asking them daily to bring that energy up so he could use it for the benefit of all. Because the sexual force is the creative force of the soul, says Andre Luiz. So friends, where do you think you are in that regard? I think the invitation for us today is to visualize our emotional discipline that disciplines our creative forces, focusing on the general good, visualizing these beautiful encounters that shall last to immortality. Okay? Tomorrow, when we come back for chapter 11, Andre Luiz Didn't have enough. He's going to expand it. He's going to talk about emotional conduct, affective conduct. He is repeating the topic so many times that we believe it must be important. So come back for more with Evolution in Two Worlds by Andre Luiz. We are learning to be disciplined emotionally, emotional education, emotional discipline. Thank you, friends. Many blessings, and God willing, we'll be back tomorrow for more with Andre Luiz in Evolution in Two Worlds. Thank you.